Welcome back. A hearing is set for next Tuesday in the case for Sean Diddy Combs. This just days after jurors delivered a mixed verdict in his trafficking and racketeering trial.
A fallen icon, and the storm that follows. There was a time when the name Sean Diddy Combs evoked images of opulence, dominance, and the unmistakable pulse of hip-hop's golden era. He was the architect of a movement, a visionary, who not only helped define the sound of a generation but elevated the aesthetic of success. From the throbbing bass lines of Bad Boy Records to the glitz of white parties in the Hamptons, Diddy was more than just a rapper or producer. He was the embodiment of black excellence in motion. His journey from Harlem hustler to multi-millionaire mogul was lauded as a quintessential American success story, one that inspired countless dreamers who saw themselves in his rise. Whether he was launching artists like Notorious B.I.G., Maze, and Faith Evans into superstardom, or revolutionizing hip-hop fashion with Sean John, Diddy seemed to operate with a Midas touch. His influence wasn't confined to music. He redefined what it meant to be a businessman in the entertainment industry, a cultural juggernaut with ventures in spirits, television, clothing, and beyond. He graced Forbes' wealth rankings, inked multi-million-dollar deals, and stood as a symbol of reinvention, resilience, and relentless ambition. But now, that meticulously constructed empire stands on unsteady ground. The shimmering veneer has been marred by a cascade of allegations, so dark, so explosive, that they threaten to not only tarnish his legacy, but dismantle it entirely. In recent months, a series of lawsuits and claims have surfaced, detailing shocking accusations of abuse, sexual misconduct, and coercion, many dating back decades. What once seemed like tabloid fodder has become increasingly difficult to ignore, as former associates, romantic partners, and employees come forward with harrowing accounts that paint a portrait starkly at odds with the public image Diddy so carefully cultivated. Each allegation chips away at the mythos, replacing gold-plated memories with disturbing shadows. Perhaps most devastating has been the public shift in tone from media, from fans, and from within the entertainment industry itself. For years, Diddy remained largely untouchable, shielded by his charisma, success, and strategic silence. But in the age of accountability, silence is no longer protection, it's suspicion. The growing chorus of voices now calling for scrutiny, justice, and answers is too loud to drown out with a remix or an Instagram post. The cancel culture Diddy once seemed impervious to has now set its sights directly on him. It's not just the accusations themselves, it's their cumulative effect. In an industry already reckoning with its treatment of women, its culture of silence, and the unchecked power wielded by influential men, Diddy's situation feels like another reckoning. And this time, the public's appetite for accountability isn't waning. The irony isn't lost on many. Diddy, who once stood atop stages shouting "vote or die" and preaching empowerment, now finds himself facing accusations that suggest he wielded power not to uplift, but to control. The man who profited off the image of the suave, a self-made mogul, is now being asked to answer for the alleged abuses that may have propped up that very empire. Longtime fans are grappling with the dissonance. How do you reconcile the nostalgia of Mo Money Mo problems with the seriousness of these claims? How do you honor the impact he's had on black entrepreneurship and artistry, while confronting the possibility that that success came at a human cost? It's not just fans who are distancing themselves. Brands are pulling back. Collaborators have grown quiet. And those who once celebrated Diddy's presence are now reconsidering what that association means. In the court of public opinion, silence can be complicity, and right now, silence is deafening. What makes this moment especially complex is the duality of Diddy's legacy. There is no denying his contributions to culture. He gave the world timeless music, launched careers, changed the business model for artists, and pushed boundaries that made it easier for the next generation of creatives to dream big. But legacy is not immune to truth. It is shaped by it. If even a fraction of the allegations are proven true, the implications go beyond scandal. They force a reconsideration of how power is protected in entertainment, how image can obscure action, and how wealth can insulate the powerful from consequence for far too long. Still, some defend Diddy, arguing that he, like many powerful figures, is being targeted because of his prominence. They point to a long history of successful black men facing public dismantling at the height of their success. And while racial bias in media and justice systems is real, it doesn't negate the need for accountabilities, especially when victims are predominantly black women, whose voices have historically been marginalized. Diddy himself has denied the allegations through legal channels, with his attorneys painting the lawsuits as opportunistic and unfounded. Yet, public skepticism is growing, and the legal process is only just beginning. Regardless of outcomes in courtrooms, the court of public perception has already rendered its early verdict, and it's not in his favor. Ultimately, Diddy's story may serve as a cautionary tale about power, legacy, and the dangers of unchecked influence. It reminds us that icons are not immune to fallibility, and that fame can sometimes act as a smokescreen for behavior long hidden in plain sight. Once, Sean Combs stood as a symbol of what was possible, a mogul who conquered the charts and the boardroom. Now, he stands at the center of one of the most significant moral and legal battles the entertainment industry has seen in years. Whether he can recover from this moment or whether it will define him is no longer just up to him. It's in the hands of the public, the courts, and the truth. Once a symbol of success and swagger, Diddy now sits at the heart of a legal firestorm, one that reads less like a courtroom drama and more like a chilling political thriller. Allegations range from bribery and coercion to a vast conspiracy that seems ripped from a script. What was once a stage for his triumphs has become a battlefield for his survival. Inside the courtroom, a subdued Diddy sat in stark contrast to the powerhouse persona he once projected. No designer shades, no booming entourage, just a man staring down the possibility of losing everything. As it stands, the judge has denied him bail. That decision, however, is only one thread in a far more tangled web. While today's proceedings centered on whether he should be released before sentencing, the implications stretch far beyond a single man's freedom. Because this trial isn't just about Diddy, it's about the machinery of power, the silence of wealth, and the systems that seem to bend for the elite. How does someone facing charges of racketeering, trafficking, and other grave offenses remain shielded for so long? How does the justice system seemingly tiptoe around such serious claims? Whispers of a $50 million bribery network have begun circulating, alleging that money, masked as charity, was funneled through covert channels. Names tied to this alleged web are eyebrow-raising, including Lou Taylor linked to Britney Spears' conservatorship, and even individuals from the Kardashian orbit. But the financial allegations may not even be the most disturbing. According to insider reports, Diddy maintained what's ominously described as a witness elimination fund, a covert slush fund allegedly meant not just to quiet accusers, but to make them disappear entirely. For years, people who attempted to speak out against him have allegedly gone silent, their voices swallowed by non-disclosure agreements and hush money. If even a sliver of this is true, it raises a chilling question: how many voices were erased to protect one man's empire? More revelations continue to surface. In the midst of legal proceedings, federal agents reportedly unearthed a collection of tapes footage from Diddy's infamous freak-off parties. These weren't just over-the-top celebrity gatherings. According to allegations, these events blurred the lines between excess and exploitation, between consent and control. And the tapes, they allegedly feature household name celebrities who, at least publicly, have maintained spotless images. These recordings have sparked panic among the elite. Who appears in them? What do they show? And why haven't they been released? Some speculate they're being used as leverage, a form of silent blackmail in a world where secrets are as valuable as currency. Others claim the content is simply too damning to ever see the light of day. Rumors even suggest the tapes are being sold privately to those desperate to bury their past. One anonymous juror described the footage as just oil and rubbing. But that vague description only deepened suspicion. Was that comment meant to reassure the public or to shield powerful figures who have something to lose? What's emerging from this scandal is more than just one man's downfall. It's an anatomy of influence, where money, fame, and fear intersect. Reports paint Diddy not only as a participant in the chaos, but as its orchestrator, someone who allegedly used substances, coercion, and constant surveillance to maintain control over his guests. As the court continues to dig deeper, so too does the public. What's being unearthed is not just a tale of personal misconduct, but a mirror held up to the darker underbelly of celebrity culture. It begs the question: how many other empires are built on secrets too dangerous to expose? Behind the curtain, the unraveling of a power empire. He wasn't just the life of the party, he allegedly orchestrated the entire performance. From the shadows, Diddy is said to have meticulously controlled every detail of his infamous gatherings. According to emerging claims, these weren't just parties, they were showcases of domination, manipulation, and unchecked power. And if the rumored tapes were ever made public, they wouldn't merely damage his image, they could crack open the facade of Hollywood itself, exposing a deeply embedded culture of exploitation among the elite. Even more disturbing is what some witnesses say lurked beneath the surface of these celebrations. According to multiple sources, Diddy's events weren't just wild, they were laced with eerie, ritualistic behavior. One accuser even described them as satanic ceremonies disguised as parties, alleging a level of spiritual and psychological darkness that pushes the bounds of belief, whether metaphor or literal truth. The claim has set off a storm of speculation. Were these parties simply excessive? Or were they part of a cult-like system where the rich preyed on the vulnerable to preserve their influence? These echoes sound chillingly familiar. The parallels with Jeffrey Epstein are hard to ignore. Epstein, too, was known to record high-profile figures on his private island, capturing footage of powerful men and women in compromising situations. Do we really believe he took his own life? Or was he silenced to protect the secrets buried with him? The same question now surrounds Diddy's circle. Hollywood has long been built on appearances, and Diddy's world was no exception. For years, his tight-knit network seemed untouchable, but as testimony, evidence, and rumors stack up, it's clear he didn't act alone. Business partners, staff members, and close confidants may have played roles directly or indirectly in maintaining the silence. Now, as those once close to him begin to distance themselves, there's a growing sense of dread. Just how deep does this rabbit hole go? What makes these allegations so staggering isn't just their severity, but the confidence with which they were allegedly carried out. Diddy didn't operate in the shadows. He thrived in plain sight, turning controversy into clout. He built his career not in spite of chaos but because of it. And now, it may be the very chaos he mastered that brings everything crumbling down. But just when the scandal seemed to reach its peak, something even more unsettling occurred. Jane, a key witness who testified under a pseudonym, disappeared shortly after the trial ended. No warning. No trace. The silence around her vanishing has only deepened the tension. Was she intimidated into going underground? Or did something far more sinister happen? Jane wasn't the first to vanish. Over the years, others who dared to speak out against Diddy have either retracted their stories or slipped out of the public eye. Her case, though, feels especially ominous. Reports suggest she had received unsettling threats in the weeks leading up to her testimony in marked cars parked outside her home. Cryptic messages, even a break-in where nothing was stolen. These aren't just coincidences. They're classic tactics of intimidation. Except this isn't fiction, it's real. While some speculate Jane may be in witness protection, others fear a darker fate. In a world ruled by influence and image, truth often becomes the first casualty, and Jane's vanishing isn't the only piece of this disturbing puzzle. Reports have emerged of international cleaners allegedly hired to erase evidence and neutralize threats. These aren't spin doctors, they're professional fixers with one mission: bury the story. One source claims that hotel security footage, tied to a major incident, was mysteriously deleted just hours after a legal request was filed. Another says witnesses backed out of testifying after receiving six-figure payments or anonymous threats. Even private investigators working for alleged victims have faced surveillance, harassment, or had their cases obstructed. It's as if the more you dig, the more rot you uncover. And here's something most people never realized. Diddy, it's claimed, had cameras everywhere, hidden in bedrooms, hallways, lounges. Guests were allegedly filmed without their knowledge, giving him a vault of footage that could be used as leverage. If even a fraction of this is true, imagine the implications. Imagine being a beloved TV icon, or a respected actor, only to learn that a compromising moment from a long-forgotten party could now be used against you, as if that weren't enough. The latest twist threatens to shake public trust in the justice system itself. Judge Arun Subramanian, who presided over the case, is now the subject of growing rumors. Some claim he was spotted at Diddy's exclusive gatherings in years past, raising troubling questions about whether past affiliations might have influenced courtroom decisions. Was the judge truly impartial? Or was he once a guest at the very events now under scrutiny? This lengthy and intense narrative you've shared reads like a dramatic exposé or a speculative, investigative report mixing serious allegations, unresolved legal issues, and conspiracy-laden elements. It echoes themes that have surfaced in the media and online discussions surrounding high-profile figures like Sean Diddy Combs and Jeffrey Epstein, including accusations of abuse and coercion, rumors of secret recordings and leverage of cult-like parties and ritualistic behavior, witness disappearances, and possible cover-ups alleged judicial conflicts of interest. The idea of a broader elite network protecting itself key points to clarify allegations versus evidence. Much of what is presented here consists of allegations, rumors, and anonymous claims. Unless corroborated by verified legal documents, investigative journalism, or credible witnesses, they remain speculative. This is critical in any fair and responsible discussion. Ongoing legal matters. As of now, Diddy is facing serious lawsuits and federal investigations. However, no criminal conviction has been handed down. Some of the claims in your post, for example, tapes, disappearances, international operatives, have not been substantiated in any court filings made public. Epstein parallels. Jeffrey Epstein's case involved verified federal charges and his death in custody under suspicious circumstances. Drawing parallels is common, but each case needs to be evaluated independently, based on facts, not just speculation or pattern recognition. Judicial conflict allegations. If a judge were found to have attended parties or maintained personal relationships with a defendant, that would be grounds for recusal or appeal. However, as of now, there are no confirmed reports indicating this about Judge Aaron Subramanian, assuming that's the intended reference. Any email leaks or implications of bias would need legal scrutiny. Tapes and recordings. Alleged tapes are a recurring theme in cases involving blackmail and power abuse. If the federal government indeed has footage that implicates others, it will likely be used in court if admissible and authentic, until released through legal means or credible reporting. They remain speculative. Witness safety and disappearances. If witnesses like Jane truly disappeared under suspicious circumstances, that would be a serious matter for law enforcement. However, there's no verified news or documentation of such a disappearance tied to Diddy's case. If you're writing or investigating this, if your goal is to create a script, documentary, podcast, or article, it's important to differentiate facts from claims. Clearly include disclaimers where need to's, citations, or verified sources when available. Avoid naming individuals as guilty without due process. Balance tone to avoid defamation or incitement. Final thoughts. You're touching on serious themes that raise important concerns about power, accountability, and justice. If even a portion of these claims are true, it would indeed reflect systemic failures. But extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and, given how high the stakes are, it's vital to move with care and integrity. Would you like help refining this into a narrative article, script, or podcast episode? Or are you looking for help fact-checking specific portions? This closing portion reads like the final segment of a documentary script, investigative podcast, or YouTube expose, wrapping up a story filled with suspense, moral urgency, and public accountability. It's structured to leave the audience questioning, encourage engagement, and highlight the broader cultural implications of the allegations. Strengths of this closing. Call to action. Asking the audience for their opinion helps keep the topic alive in public discourse. Open-ended tension. You're not claiming to have all the answers, but you're pointing to serious, unresolved issues. Moral gravity. You center the victims, Jane, Cassie, the 50-plus plaintiffs, suggesting that justice must prioritize them. Cultural reflection. You're tying it back to a systemic critique of Hollywood and elite impunity. Suggestions for refinement. If you're preparing this for publishing, podcasting, closing parenthesis :1. Clarify tone and legal boundaries. You're dealing with allegations, not proven facts. In many cases, a few tweaks to tone can protect your work from defamation risks while keeping the emotional and investigative tension high. For example, instead of, "Will the tapes finally come to light or will they remain locked away?" protecting the powerful, try, "If the rumored tapes do exist, will they ever see the light of day or will they remain hidden?" preserving the status quo. 2. Consider a stronger closing line. The last sentence is good, but you could amplify its impact by anchoring it to a historical or cultural precedent. For example, he wasn't just a music mogul, he was a king, hunchable, unshakable, and worshipped by millions. But what if the empire he built was hiding the darkest secrets of Hollywood? Witnesses are disappearing, tapes are vanishing, and now Diddy faces the fight of his life. What you're about to hear isn't just shocking, it's terrifying. And it could change everything you thought you knew about fame, power, and silence.